So, hi Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Absolute pleasure. Very excited to speak to you.
Well, me too. Can we start with you please giving an introduction to yourself, your business, and what you sell?
Okay, so my name's Sarah, and I'm the owner of Bombaby, which is an e-com product-based business, which I started nearly 3 years ago now. And I sell beautiful handmade block print bedding, accessories, and even some really, really cool boho clothing that's come in recently. And I design it all in the UK, and my amazing team in India makes it for me. And yeah, it's coming up for 3 years. It's been a wild ride so far, and I'm doing my utmost best to scale this business. So I am seen as a brand leader and a strong competitor out there on the market. So I'm slogging my guts out.
That is all so exciting, and I have so many follow-up questions, Sarah. I'm going to start right at the beginning, which is
Sure.
when, why, how did you start? I'd love to know.
Okay, it's quite a complex answer, and I'm sure it is for most people. It's not a case that I just woke up one day and I thought, right, I need a big change in my life. If you didn't know, I'm actually a secondary school English teacher. That's my day job. And I've been doing that for 2 decades. And I love it. It's my vocation in life. I'm also a safeguarding officer at the school I work at as well. So child protection is hugely important to me. Um, but I think it was in that lull after lockdown where so many of us were reassessing our lives and the direction that we were going in, that I think perhaps we were all a little more vulnerable to and open to different routes and directions in our life that possibly, if it weren't for COVID, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I think a very stressful stretch of teaching through lockdown did have me thinking about my time spent with my own children and my family. And my youngest daughter has additional needs, and the older she gets, the more we need to support her. Now, my husband also has a very, very big and busy job. So one of us needed to take a step back a little from the teaching world. We're both teachers. And it was a situation I'd never been in before. I'd been ploughing full steam ahead with a career in teaching, with deputy head pastoral, on my mind for my next step. And I realized that we couldn't both do it. My husband couldn't do what he wanted to do, and I couldn't at the same time. And we'd always made that decision that the first person to get there essentially could go for it, and the other person would support. And he got there before me. I could talk at length about women and the limitations imposed on us by society, but that is the harsh reality. But I'm not somebody that can sit still. I never have been able to. And I knew that I needed something for me. So I pulled back a little from teaching. I was going part-time, but I just felt a bit of a void and I needed some creativity. I wanted something for me. I've never been my own boss, ever. Now, I've always been a hustler. I've always had things going on the side, whether that's eBay, Vinted. I've always had little projects going on. I loved keeping busy. And I was actually approached by somebody on Instagram selling block print quilts from India. It was actually a pair of women from Delhi. And I admired the fact that during lockdown too, they were showing such entrepreneurial skills and reaching out. And I was initially going to buy 1 or 2 quilts from them for myself. And they said, would you be interested in wholesale? And I thought, do you know what? If anyone can flip anything, I can. It's me. So I thought, I'll give this a go. So I ransacked around and I found £1,000 that I had in one of those online app savings accounts that I'd completely forgotten about. And with that £1,000, I placed an order, of which most of that was freight, by the way. Freight and customs when importing. Wow, that was a steep learning curve. And from there, I just discovered this whole new world that I never even knew existed. So that was the starting point, a combination of factors in my own life, a desire for change, and a chance encounter. And that's really what started it all.
That is amazing. And yeah, I was going to ask how you found a supplier, but it sounds like they found you.
Well, they did initially. And what I would say is that finding suppliers in India from afar is one of the most niche things that you can do. Most people will want to get on a plane and go out and meet people. But I didn't have that option. I've got young children, I've got a job as well, so I'm really limited with how much travel I can do. So I didn't have that available to me. So I just started reaching out, making contact with people. It's not difficult to find suppliers if you start using your common sense. Look at competitors and who's following them on Instagram. Who are they commenting on Instagram? It's not hard to find people. And what I would say with the block print sellers, there's a lot of gatekeeping there. People are very secretive about who their suppliers are. I'm very open on my Instagram page. I want to empower as many other women as possible. I want to give people support and advice. And all the gatekeeping out there and the sort of whispered conversations, I find that peculiar, because we should all be supporting each other. But it does take a nose for these things. And the women that approached me initially, I don't work with any longer. And I have sought out suppliers for different things within my business. So I have one supplier that makes my beautiful king size quilts. I have a different supplier that makes my mother of pearl. I have a different supplier that makes my children's quilts and my accessories and my bags, because they are their strengths for each of those suppliers. And I quickly learned, even though I have zero business experience at all, that actions, I've established those connections. And it's taken time. And I've had to ask questions and hustle and tread on toes. But if you want to make a success of yourself, you've got to be prepared to do that.
That's amazing. And I would love to know as well. So it sounds like you took a really big step initially by going, okay, I'm going to buy some of these quilts and see if I can resell them. That in itself is a big undertaking. How did you get from there to, I'm now going to create my own designs? Because I'm right in thinking that you design your prints and then they're block printed. How did you make that further leap, Sarah?
So, I love beautiful, special, unique things that nobody else has. I fill my house with them. I fill my wardrobe with them. And I'm always one of those people that others will come to when they want a recommendation, a new outfit, they want to buy someone a present. I'm that sort of go-to person that can instantly conjure up, oh, well, have you tried this? I don't want to sell other people's products in my business. I want to sell mine. It's an ego thing, and I'm sure there are many other business owners who are the same. But I need to be able to sell my products with all of my passion and all of my sense of belief in them. And I don't believe it's as easy to do that with other people's products. Now, I don't know if people necessarily appreciate this, but there are a lot of people selling block print items in the UK, around the world. I would say maybe 90%, if not more than that, are people who are buying off the peg items that are made for them in India. So fabrics that are screen printed en masse and sold across all of the markets in Jaipur. Now, I quickly realized that the fabrics I was being offered by the vendors over there were fabrics that my competitors were selling as well. Now, I'd had a tricky situation where I'd actually been sold a fabric that was bespoke to one of my competitors and caused huge upset. I was mortified by it. And I halted production of that particular product and that particular fabric that I'd been sold, believing it to be a unique fabric. And I realized through making that mistake and being sold something that wasn't actually to be sold to me, the only way that I could protect myself and my business and be completely unique was to make sure that my fabrics were my own. So I am quite different to what a lot of block print sellers in the UK are doing. I'm not sourcing ready-made, mass-produced screen fabrics. My team print all of our fabric to order, and they use the designs that I create here in the UK. So it takes a lot more work. I'm not just picking fabrics from a catalogue, because the reality is, if you actually want to buy block print bags, fabrics, quilts from India, it's very easy. It's really easy to find somebody on Instagram, on Etsy, who will sell you tote bags for £7 a pop. But it's mass-produced screen print fabric, which is not sustainable, it's not ethical, and who knows where that's coming from? Who knows who is making those products? And they were the issues I had flying around in my mind. I think it's because I'm a control freak. I wanted supreme control of everything. I wanted to know where my fabric's coming from, what the design is, and to know that it was entirely mine.
That makes a lot of sense. And I hadn't actually thought about that, but you're right. Quite often I see things, I'm going to use Etsy as an example. Quite often I will see something on Etsy. And if you're looking for something very specific and you scroll far enough, you'll see the same, what appears to be the same item or very similar item popping
Absolutely. There are
up.
photos of my products are all over the internet and Instagram. There are people in India who are making identical products to mine using photos off my website. It's very, very common that, you know, copyright laws and intellectual property don't exist in the same way in India as they do in the UK. You do just have to rise above it and ignore it the best that you can. But I was that person on the receiving end of that on one occasion where I was sold somebody else's fabric. And it was an incredibly stressful situation for them and for me. So I resolved there and then that everything would be my own.
And how are you dealing with when other people are sort of using your patterns? Is that something you're just going, well, actually, mine's the original and I'm going to let that go?
It's really hard. So printing your own fabric is one of the best ways to protect yourself. So my team would never in Jaipur, because I know them, I visit them, I work closely with them. The risk you have is if you're using block printers in Jaipur, they're producing mass amounts of fabric. If you place an order, they might print extra and sell it on to other suppliers. My team would never do that, and they only print to order for me. So that's how I protect myself. But realistically, spending too much time looking around for people that might be copying you and ripping you off is just energy wasted, isn't it? And I just need to focus my efforts on always being one step ahead.
And it sounds like you're doing all you can already. I mean, there's not much more you can do without expending an awful lot of energy and causing yourself
Absolutely.
unnecessary stress.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, by the way, that you are using your own designs, because you're right, that does set you apart from your competitors. Because as you say, there are
It's
lots of
so important
businesses
to me.
selling similar products. Well, you have to have a USP, don't you? You have to have
Yeah.
something that makes you unique.
Realistically, you know, I want this business to be paying my mortgage and then some. So I have to be paying myself. I have to be making a return. And when I see the prices sometimes of the other products being sold online, you know, a tote bag being sold for 30, 40 pounds, I just don't know how people are making money on this, because I know what they're paying in India and I know what the freight and the customs are costing. And then when you've got VAT to add onto it too, that we have to price realistically nowadays in this market, because we've got to be able to pay ourselves. And if I want to see any longevity in my business, I can't price myself against competitors who are buying off the peg, you know, fabrics and ordering vast amounts from India that they can sell on wholesale at a fraction of the price. Mine is exclusive, it's bespoke, it's unique. We only ever make in small batches, and my customers value that. And that's all I can put my heart into selling as well, because it has to be right for me, so I can go at it full tilt.
It's really nice to hear you talk so confidently about pricing, because that is something that I have a lot of people I know struggle with, is seeing the value in your product, but not only your products, of the time and the skill that goes into the production, all of those things.
Absolutely.
You're one of very few people that I've spoken to that says, I price my products at this and this is why. And I think that's
I
really
really
admirable.
struggle with it. If I have to be honest, I have massive imposter syndrome, you know, often. And pricing is something that scares the living daylights out of me. But I know that I can't grow this brand if my prices are less. And if people want me to be bringing them these fabulous products for their home, for their wardrobes, that bring joy into their lives, I need to be able to continue doing that. And I need to be able to pay myself. And I'm not saying, I should caveat this, I'm not saying I'm necessarily paying myself vast amounts at the moment. No small business owner is. We're all ploughing everything back in. But I'm building for the future. And I can't just whack my prices up one day because I decide to pay myself finally. I need to have the prices in place now. So when I'm in that position, I can confidently say, yeah, we can move forwards with this and actually earn an income and bring people beautiful things.
I think that's great. And as I said, I think it's admirable. And I also think that I can tell that you're not someone who's just putting a high price on for the sake of it, because you've talked so much about how it's sustainable and ethical and your products are unique and the quality. So you absolutely should be charging what they're worth.
You have to value your worth as well, my time, but also the time of the guys in Jaipur who are working incredibly hard. I don't ever negotiate on price with any of my suppliers in India. I pay them what they ask for. Because I know that it's reasonable. And if that cost is transferred onto my customer, because I have a brilliant team who work incredibly hard to produce much better quality items than the fast produced products out there, that's how it works. And I know my customers value that.
Absolutely. And the ones that anyone who doesn't isn't your ideal customer, because of course
Absolutely.
you're not looking to reach everyone. Coming back to the design, I would love to know, so have you got a design background, Sarah? I don't know what you mentioned, you teach
Absolutely none.
English. So how, because again, I'm actually really impressed by how sort of it from where I'm standing, and this of course may not be the case, where you've just gone, yeah, I can do that, and you've just gone and done it.
Well, if somebody had told me before I started a small business that you needed to be a product designer, you needed to be a graphic designer, you need to be an influencer, let's be honest, you need to be an accountant, you need to be a photographer. I mean, the things you need to be able to do are just so vast. But I guess if it's a bit like having a baby, if you knew what it was like first time round, you wouldn't do it. And it's
That's
the
such a
same
good
with
analogy.
but it's true. And there's no point telling somebody because they've got to go through it and experience it for themselves and make those sometimes catastrophic mistakes too. But in terms of the designs, full transparency here, I have no design background whatsoever. What I do have is a really, really good eye. I've got a brilliant eye for beautiful things. I always have done. My home is beautifully put together, mainly with color and vibrancy thrown in. I don't follow rules in any way. And I've always found myself drawn to the children's department store sections, like when you go to John Lewis or somewhere and you're looking for bedding. I am just not a sort of neutrals person, as I'm sure you'll know. And the choice out there is so limited that I want to have bedding with hearts and stars all over it and rainbows, and I want bright neon prints, but they're just not available. So I did find myself shopping in the children's section in department stores on several occasions, and it just prompted this idea within me. What I would say, the beauty of block printing is in its simplicity. Okay, you don't need to be a brilliant designer or a print designer, because you might be a brilliant print designer or textile surface pattern designer, but you might not be a brilliant businesswoman. So being entirely creative in this industry is brilliant, but there are very few people that are going to bring every aspect. So what I do is I play to my strengths. So my good eye. And I do work with designers in the UK who will put it down on paper for me for the team in India. It's not a difficult process. The way in which they carve the blocks is a very simple tracing process initially. So I just need to provide them with a very basic PDF. If I take my tiger design, for instance, or my heart design, they're very simple. The beauty is in the simplicity. And then the block designers can then go about carving those out. And one of my best mates, she's a designer. I'll call her up and say, Emma, I need you to do something with clouds for me. It's in my head. I can't get it down on paper. I'll scribble you a few things and put in some colors. Can you do it for me? Can you put it into, can you create it for me? So the ideas I have in my head, I get the skilled people who can draw to do that for me. And then that goes to India, because that's my limitation. I have the ideas and the creativity. I can't draw for toffee. And there's no two ways about that. So I get brilliant people to help me do that. And then we send that over to India. But as I said, block printing, the simpler, the better, I would say with that. So you don't need to have an extensive sort of past experience of, textile designing and surface pattern, because there are brilliant people out there that will help you do that.
Thank you. And that's another thing we talk about so much on this podcast, is getting help with the things you need help with. Because as you've already spoken about, when you run a small business, you need, from day one, really, your everything. And then as time goes by, hopefully you can find people that can support you with the different aspects that you either don't like doing or aren't great at doing, or sometimes both. So yeah, that's great. And speaking of working with others, I would love to come back to, we've talked about this a lot. You have a team in Jaipur. How do you work with them? And do you have any advice for others in that situation? Because obviously you're in a different time zone. I don't know if you have any, I don't know if there is a language barrier,
Yep,
but
absolutely.
definitely, I'm sure that's not always easy. And I would love to know how you're doing it, and yeah, especially any advice that you have.
Do you know what somebody said to me not that long ago? Considering you have no business experience, Sarah, and you've been a teacher for 2 decades, to leap into business for the very first time and decide to import from India, you have literally chosen the hardest thing to do of them all. Why did you do that? And it's so true, actually. But I feel such a strong connection to India. I've been pulled in that direction for a reason. And the suppliers that I work with, and my supplier in particular, Abdul, we have such a strong connection. We are family. We know each other's families. And I do feel like our paths were meant to align on this journey of life. And that's so important because trust, for me, is the most important thing when working with people overseas. So time zone, yes, tricky. Seasons, now that's even harder. So we've not been able to print for about the last 2 months. Because it's been monsoon season over in India. So I'm watching my stockpiles go down, 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 thinking, because we can't print any fabric at the moment. And because we print to order, we don't have piles and piles of it sitting around. We try to be really mindful in what we create. Working with India is honestly one of the most bonkers things I have ever done in my life. Their approach to everything is completely the opposite of ours. They're very relaxed. Deadlines, I wouldn't say they necessarily always adhere to the same strict deadlines that we need to for seasons and Christmas and all sorts. But you know what? It brings such joy to my life working with India. But it is incredibly complex. The time zones are mad. Yes, things can get lost in translation, and the slightest color or pattern reference that gets lost in translation could mean a shipment of £5,000 worth of stock that arrives in the wrong color. And that has happened before. So it is an absolute minefield working with India, but it just brings so much joy, vibrancy, and excitement to my life because they are brilliant people. You have to have a good nose, again, for the right people to work with. There are people who, of course, in any country overseas that are going to see you coming a mile off. So my advice also would be to get out there as well and meet your team. You want to see where your products are being created. You want to know that the people are being treated well, and that they have all the right vibes. And it has been an incredible journey, but I can't imagine my life now without the India aspect to it. And all my friends and family laugh constantly at the piles and piles of DHL boxes from India stacking up by the front door, and the debris of, sort of print samples lying across the house, and me dashing off to go and call Abdul at a crazy hour. My children will walk past the screen when I'm talking to him and, all right, Abdul, and his children will pass too. And actually, just to show the extent of that warmth, my youngest daughter, Tilly, designed her own block print recently. And Abdul and his team had that made into a block, and they've printed her own backpack, pencil case, wash bag, and jacket, and sent it over recently, which was just magic. So they are wonderful people to work with. Bonkers. And it takes some patience, definitely, and massive amounts of humor.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I think it's so important, isn't it, to have a relationship with people you're working with. So rather than it just being a transactional thing, because if we're here to build a business, we're in it for the long term, and we hope that these relationships will be long term. So I think having that relationship where you not only can work together but like each other is so
Absolutely.
important.
we see each other as business partners. Abdul isn't somebody that provides me with my stock. He's my partner in this. And that is so important. And we discuss our lives as well as we discuss our business too. And I'm already excited about when I can next get over there, which is logistically so hard when you have a job and you have young children. Finding that time to go over for 10 days and to get the seasons right too. I mean, the best time for me would be the summer holidays. I can't go in the summer holidays because it's monsoon season over there. There's no printing going on. So the good time for me to go would be during term time. And so I can't.
That's really difficult. And
It's really hard.
now that we've touched on your job, Sarah, so are you still are you still teaching part-time, or are you back to full-time at the moment?
I am part-time, but I work at a boarding school, a 7-day-a-week boarding school, and I actually live within the boarding school as well. So I do work part-time here, but I think for many people it would be considered probably full-time. I teach on a Saturday morning, for instance. So doing things like, events up and down the country has been something I've never been able to do. So it's just one of the limitations, but it is what it is. And I just work with it rather than seeing it as a block.
And do you have any advice for anyone? Because I think lots of us are trying to build businesses around something else, whether it's a job or sort of other things. How are you doing it, and what advice do you have?
I think mindset is a huge part of this. And in recent years, I've really worked hard on my mindset. And that's part of the job that I have in teaching as well, working with young people and trying to inspire them and trying to pull the best out of them. But when I'm feeling overwhelmed with the amount that I've got to do, I remind myself, this is all of my own creation. This is my narrative. This is my story. It's no coincidence that any of this has happened. I've created it. And I'm hugely grateful for that and the opportunities that it brings me. The people that I meet in the Bombaby world bring such richness to my life, in the same way that working with young people is my passion too. And I'm not saying that doing both of them will work forever, because in many ways, I am my biggest limitation at the moment to my business, because I can't give myself 100%, full, 100% to the business. That will have to change inevitably if I want to scale this as big as I can. But when I feel those moments of overwhelm, I just remind myself that this is all of my creation. And it's about that narrative and that perspective. And when you look at it with gratitude and think, wow, how lucky am I that I work with all of these incredible people and I have all of these things going on in my life? That is amazing. And I'm not saying on a sort of dark Sunday when I'm dragging myself up to go and fulfill 40 orders that have come in over the weekend, and I've got 2 sets of books to mark, that I don't feel really, really overwhelmed with it. It's not a magic formula, but generally it is something that I always keep in mind. This is what I want to do, and I'm not scared of hard work.
That's brilliant, thank you. And I think you're right, having a passion for something really helps keep you going. And I can tell how passionate you are about Bombaby.
Absolutely.
So we're coming sort of towards the end of our chat, Sarah. Sadly, it's gone so fast. I guess I've got 2 more things I'd like to ask about. One is, because obviously you mentioned you've always taught, teaching's been your background, this is what you've done, and now suddenly you're running your own small business. I say suddenly, it's been a couple of years, but you know what I mean.
No, it has been sudden in many ways. You're absolutely right.
What advice do you have for other people who maybe are thinking, okay, I'd like to do something, they're listening to this podcast thinking, I'd like to sell products, I'd like to create something, but having that feeling of, but I can't do that because I come from this background, or I've never done that, or I don't know how to. Do you have any advice for people in that situation? I suspect you will.
Imposter syndrome is a crippling, devastating feeling to have. And I do really struggle with it. The majority of people in my industry tend to have a background in interiors. So they're interior designers that are now moving into this sphere, the interiors, the quilts, the lampshades. So little old me that's been teaching for the last 20 years of her life in that same arena, without that background and without that well-established kudos, is really, really hard. And it takes being surrounded by some amazing people that will constantly reassure you. I wish I could give some incredible advice that would give people that light bulb moment, but it is about confidence, and it is about taking a leap and believing in yourself. And that doesn't happen overnight. It is, it's something we have to be constantly working on too. But I honestly believe that there's nothing that I can't do. There really isn't. And I believe that for every single person. Maybe that's the teacher in me, because I always look for the best in everybody. You have to, if you're a secondary school teacher, believe that anyone is capable of anything. And I really believe that if you show up every day and if you have that mindset and that determination to learn, and that will take me on to my final point in question. You'll probably want to ask me about my best advice, but I do think that we all have it in us. You just have to have the self-belief. We can all learn anything at any age, but you've got to have the grit and the determination.
That's brilliant advice, Sarah. Thank you. And yes, you have preempted my final question, which is...
Well, I didn't want to give the full game away and without letting you introduce it.
Oh, but thank you, because you've led into it perfectly. That was seamless. Sarah, what is your number one piece of advice for other product creators?
I have thought long and hard about this, because I would love to go back to Sarah 2 years ago and offer her some advice now, because I just was so clueless. So there are other Sarahs out there who are at the beginning of their journey, and I really want to bring something meaningful here, because there are so many things that you could say. However, for me, the one thing I've learned on this journey is that you have to upskill yourself in absolutely every area, because otherwise you are handing control over to other people. I'll explain what I mean by this. I've worked with people who are marketing professionals. I've worked with financial advisors. I've worked even with graphic designers and professional photographers who have not delivered to me what I needed. And it made me realize very, very quickly that if you want a good job doing, you're going to need to do it yourself. And if you're a small business, you will not have the funds to be paying somebody to run your Facebook ads for you. You will not have the funds to be paying a graphic designer. So you will need to learn how to use Canva pretty fast. You will need to learn how to move yourself around Business Manager on Meta pretty quickly if you want to be able to do Facebook ads. Now, this takes a huge amount of determination and graft. But what I have done is I have become an expert, if you like, in every area of my business, because I am not prepared to hand that control over to other people. A mistake I hear so often with small business owners is, oh, I'm going to get someone to design a website for me. And I always say to them immediately, why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing it yourself? Well, they'll say, oh, so-and-so's doing it for 500 quid. If I just get it done, then it's done. This is a massive error. A website isn't something that you just create, stick it out there and expect the customers to come flying in through the doors and the cash to come rolling in. A website, just like if you had a bricks and mortar store, needs constant TLC. You're always moving the stock around. You're constantly changing your window display. And you know what? If you had a fire or if you had a leak, okay, you might need to bring in the occasional expert to come and repair something or give it a lick of paint, okay? But on a day-to-day basis, you're unlocking that door in the morning and you're locking up again at night. So you need to know how to do that. If you hand the power over to somebody else and pay them vast sums of money, you will never know how to do it yourself. I am on my website every day of the week, updating, changing, bringing additional content on there to make it a place that my customers will go and enjoy browsing. When you walk into a shop, you want to enjoy walking around and browsing. It's the same on a website. You've got to create that experience. Now, I'm using the website analogy here, but it's the same with things like Facebook ads and social media. You can go and hire a social media manager, but it won't be your voice being put out there. You can hire somebody to do your Facebook ads, but again, you're paying somebody to do something you can do yourself. So I have tirelessly upskilled myself in every area possible. So I have full control of my business because it's mine. It's my name above the door. Something goes wrong in the middle of the night and my website crashes, but Pete, who designed it 6 months ago, is on annual leave for the next 3 weeks. You're stuffed. So give yourself the power, is my advice to anybody in a small business. And if you don't have the determination, the work ethic, and the sheer grit to do that, it's not for you, because it is a gnarly old workplace out there. It is, at the moment, it is tougher than it has ever been. So you have to be fully prepared to put your all in. So don't hand that power over to other people. Keep it. And don't get me wrong, I've got a fabulous guy in Bangladesh that does all my coding for me on the website because I have no idea how to code, but I'll pull him in when I need him. The day-to-day stuff, that's mine, because it's my business. It's my face there. It's my name. It has to be all within my control. And the friends I see, other small business owners that perhaps aren't seeing the growth, for instance, in their own businesses that I am in mine, time and time again, what I see is people who are delegating too much to other people, not to mention the money that you're handing over to people here, who just see you as another project to get done and dusted so they can move on to the rest. Pour yourself in, every part of you, because you will reap the rewards.
That's brilliant advice. Thank you so much, Sarah.
I hope that was helpful.
It's really helpful. Thank you for everything you shared. We're going to link to your website and your socials and everywhere else people can find you in the show notes. So thank you again.
An absolute pleasure. And thank you for letting me be a part of this.
No, I've loved talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.